ti elevate. Ori mi kò lè hibernate. Àwọn bá.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Two Brothers channel. I'm one brother.
Hello, everybody. And I'm the second brother. Welcome to the show. Back to you, Mr. Phil.
Hey, everybody. Look, today we're going to be looking at a topic that is very, very pertinent. And unlike many topics that we've covered so far, this is a fresh one. That means that we're still articulating this one because of so many moving parts. But it's important that we bring it. And so we're looking at this topic and we're going to call this Africa Behind Enemy Lines. And the explanation for why we're saying Africa is behind enemy lines would be apparent as we go along, you know. Anyway, let Mr. Claire jump in and I'll jump back in.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting topic. So I can see your minds are already going all over the place. Africa behind the lines. Where's the line? Where's Africa? Who's the enemy? But you know, there's, and I like what you said that, you know, this is still being unfolded, because you know, when you're in a war and you lose a war, history is not written by the losers; it's written by the victors. And when the victors write their history, they're not gonna, obviously they're gonna be the heroes of their own story, right? Let's just be fair to them. You know, they're not gonna give you credit, right? So what you have to do is piece things together. If you're the loser of that war, and your generations and generations after the loss. I'm just using that as an example. Not that that's how it actually is, but you know, but you're gonna try and piece things together, you know, to try and make sense of what actually happened, you know, and it won't be easy for you, because obviously the victor will always tell you one side of the story, but you need the other side of the story to see a balanced view. So back to you, Mr. Phil.
Yes, and let me use this analogy that I shared with Mr. Clay earlier on. It's like, if you imagine a guy has a son, but before this boy was born, his father died. But this father has a property, and the property, the father maintained the property. Everybody knew that the father is the owner of the property. But only the neighbor knew where the deed of the property was. Unfortunately, he was friends with the father of the house, the father that owned the house, and the deed, he knew where his friend put his deed. So the guy died suddenly, basically. And so when they said who owned the house, the neighbor basically destroyed the deed of the house and basically produced a forgery to say he's the owner of the house. So that by the time that this boy was born, there was no, of course, we from this perspective know that his father owned the house, but but the boy is just a baby and he didn't know. And unfortunately, even his mother, when they couldn't prove that, you know, who owned the house and the neighbor did what he did, she basically just gave up as well and said, okay, he must be the one that owns the house, you know. And as time went on, she even went into a relationship with the neighbor. So basically, the neighbor basically claimed the house, and you know, everybody just assumed that was the truth. And the boy, born as a baby, the only thing he can go by is what they've told him. The neighbor owns the house, and the neighbor is being good to even take care of your mom and you, take you in. Then one day, someone was passing by. An older gentleman was passing by, and he said, "You must be so and so son. You look exactly like him. Look at you. Man, you can't even miss it." He says, "So where's your dad? And he said, oh, my dad died a long time ago. And the guy said, oh, sorry to hear that. So that means that you own this house. And the boy says, no, I don't own this house. The guy says, well, are you not his son? He said, yeah. Are you not so and so son? He said, yeah. Then this house belongs to you. And the guy said, no, it belongs to Mr. He said, look, bro, this house belongs to you. Now, the story can continue, but that is where we are as Africans right now. We're like that little boy that so many things has happened before he was born. And so many things have been altered and rewritten. And he's been told another narrative contrary to his heritage. Mr. Claire, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that story is a very interesting story, and it's a good story to describe the situation. Because like you said, all the boy knows is what he met and what he's been told all his life, and now the new information is coming that is making him think, oh, are you sure? Interesting, because we all know that life begins from Africa, right? So that's scientific fact. Now, I always assumed that scientific fact was embraced by the whole world. Only to discover recently that it was actually fought for, because some people did not want to admit it. They did not go with their narrative, right? So when you hear something like that, because you talk to anybody and they say, oh yeah, of course, yeah, Lucy. Everybody knows about Lucy. Life began in Africa, but are you sure? Are you sure you can just admit it like that? But then when you look back, and I've just come across some information recently that showed me the fight that they had to go through, where the main agenda was questioned, and you find a lot of things that like the pyramids and the Tomb Raiders. We know the famous computer game Tomb Raider, right? Before there was Tomb Raiders, there was Tomb Egyptologists, or what do they call them, scientists, and they were actually raiding the tombs, but they said they were scientists.
Oh wow!
Back to you, Mr. Phil.
Oh, you see, that is why in our time now, we're living in a very crucial time. It seems like all the time that I've chosen to come to this world is a very crucial time. You get what I'm saying? Because it's a very crucial time. Because like Mr. Clay said, these information are now readily being accepted. The word before, as a matter of fact, before George Floyd, very recently, before George Floyd, nobody was ready to accept institutional racism. It was only accepted after it was, they couldn't, what should I call it? They couldn't deny it after George Floyd. That was just recently. Before, it was like, what are you talking about? Racism? What are you talking about racism? What are you talking about discrimination? What are you talking about institutional this, institutional that? That has died centuries ago. That's what they would say. But now they're not accepting it. So what I'm saying, so this is a crucial time because, like Mr. Clay said, Lucy, they're accepting it. If they accept Lucy, that means that there's actually only one race. There's no white race, there's no black race, there's only one human race. the pigment of our skin is just by genetically where our ancestors really resided for a long time. If you were under the sun, you're darker. If you're not under the sun, you are lighter. Simple as. We have black people with my skin that have straight hair.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do with that? We've got black people with my skin that have blue eyes.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with that? We've got black people with my skin that have got green eyes. What are you gonna do with that? So what is that saying is that everything can come from black.
Did come from black.
Did come from black. So our gene is not recessive. What's the opposite of recessive again? Our gene is let's just call it
Is it processive? Or...
Let's call it processive, whatever. That means that you can get everything from our genes. Okay. So the long and short of it is that we're living in a time where, ladies and gentlemen, do not take your self-education for granted. Go like your life depends on it. Because like Mr. Clare said, your life actually does depend on it. With self-education right now, you can change your financial situation wherever you are in the world. I don't care wherever you are in the world. Because of connectivity now, we're on an equal playing field. But because you don't know that, you may not act on that. I was looking for a web designer the other day, and I went on the internet, and I went on Hoeever. And two of the people that responded to me were from Nigeria.
Wow.
Two of the people that responded to me were from Nigeria and ready to do the work. And I'm like, excellent. I'm still talking to one of them till today. Do you get what I'm saying? So you cannot be in Nigeria and say, oh, we don't have anything here. Not in today's world. You're not in today's world. Like I said, I'm still connected to this guy today, and he's benefiting from me just going on Fiverr, looking for someone to provide a service. Okay. So again, your self-education will be what will equip you to identify all these opportunities. But we're not talking about opportunities now. We're talking about behind enemy lines. Well, so all the information that has happened before us is important for us to know where we are and where we're going.
Yeah.
Look, if you do not know about what has happened in the past, you're going into the future with incomplete understanding. You will be missing everything, all the equity of the past. And that is why I'm not saying it's good or bad. That is why the people that are opposing you, are opposing us, want to make a break from the past and the future. Let me give you an example. We all know about slavery, but one of the things that they actually did in slavery, I don't know if Mr. Clare knew about this. It's not funny, but I'm laughing. It's not funny. When they brought slaves from Africa to America and the Caribbean and all those things first, apparently the slaves always ran away. Everybody wants to run away. Everybody run away, run away, run away. Then one day, they brought one man to come and solve the problem of slaves running. I don't know whether it's Willie Leach, it could be someone else. Then the person asked them one question. He said, do these slaves know where they came from? And they said, yeah. They know they came from West Africa. This one knows they came from this tribe and this place in Africa. I said, yeah, that's your problem. Because if they know where they came from,
they will want to run back there.
They will always want to run back. They will always want to go back to where they came from. So what you need to do is make sure that they don't speak about where the moment they come, they don't, you make it, and until they stop talking about where they're from. Make sure that the generation They don't share with their children. They don't share their culture with their children. They just make America, make Brazil, make whatever the culture that your slave. Otherwise, if they practice anything else, their language, definitely, they must not speak their language. And that is how slowly over time, slaves got born to slaves and born slaves. And that's why they settled. They stopped running away because they forgot where they came from. Mr. Clay.
Wow, that is deep. That's deep. So the opposite of recessive gene is dominant.
Ah, thank you. We have the dominant gene. Okay, all right.
So, now,
back to the slave thing.
What you said there is it makes you think about even nowadays when we in the Western world are having children. Because we grew up, like, we spent our childhood in Africa. We always feel the tug back home. But our kids never went to Africa. All they know is the story we tell them and this place. So it's either we need to make that story of Africa so enticing. Just like, just like the British when they went all over the world talking about England, or the streets of London is paved with gold. Oh, England, is how beautiful the land is, how glorious, the empire is, and everybody wants to get to let's get to this empire. Let's see what this, I want to get
this is what I'm talking about.
What they're talking about, the height of civilization. But when, what struck me from what you were saying earlier about being behind enemy lines is how you start the journey of self-discovery and you go all over the world, you go all over, up and down, and let's say you join the Freemason, for example, and they tell you there's 13 levels that you have to get of secrets, and you go from, you keep going, and you get right to the top, only to them to tell you that what you had in the first level when you joined is you've always had it, and it just blows your mind that what have I been wasting my time for? I've been climbing this ladder, just to end up back to, because you as a Black person, you wake up, especially his reality, and our white brothers watching this program might not realize it. But you as a Black person in this white supremacy society, you're the bottom, you're at the bottom. And they make you feel that, every day. Even recently, myself and a colleague was talking, and he was saying that, you can't blame them. This is their country, So it's not something that, we noticed that, okay, actually, yeah, you're right. This is their country. This is your country. We don't want to take your country away from you. By all means, keep your country. But what you just need to do is give us back our country. Because not only are you, not giving us a country to stay in, but you're also not giving us a country to go to.
You know what? You saying that, Mr. Kane, I don't want to cut you, but I don't want to forget this. What you're saying there is very important, because you look at the fact that, like you said, you are made to feel systematically here that you're at the bottom. And then you start seeing so many evidence that, to the contrary, to tell you that you're not at the bottom. And I've had conversations with people here, like in the UK, and they will say, I've had conversations with white folk that will say, well, you people don't manage yourself properly. Well, you people don't do this properly. If you people did that properly. And these are people on the streets. Then You now have someone like Dr. Arikana. I don't want to butcher her surname, but let me try. Arikana Chihombo Makwai. I think I'm this. You know Dr. Arikana now.
No.
Okay, I will. Chihom. Okay, I will look for her name. Let me get my computer ready here, and while we're doing this, I'll get her name. You know.
Okay. But you can share the link. You can, well, maybe share a link in the description.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that as well. And this lady, it was last year or the year before that I heard from the first time from this lady. She's the one that first came out and exposed this. I don't know whether because you not heard of her, maybe you've seen that video. Basically, she just exposed that the West, Germany, France, the UK, but she's more talking about France because she knows more about, she was talking more about the places that French have colonized.
Okay, the NATO, is it the AU ambassador?
Thank you.
I know her, yes.
That's her name. And that's when you now realize that 80%, I believe, 80% of what these French nations or these French colonized nations produce gets taken from them every year. French citizens don't know that. Those African states don't know that. And if the French is doing that to their colonies, you think Britain is not doing that to their colonies too? You're fooling yourself. You think Germans are not doing that? You think Belgians are not doing that? Till today. So it was when she said that, then you find out that really and truly, we are being handcuffed financially. But nobody's talking about it.
Just to add to what you just said there, Mr. Phil.
Please.
When it comes to, Dr. Henry Clark puts it this way. He says Africa has something the whole world needs, the whole world wants, and they don't want to pay for it.
I like that. Because it's the truth. It's the truth. Carry on, Mr. Clay.
So when you're working with that kind of dynamic where we all know all the resources of this world. Africa is beautifully blessed. And the narrative we're told is that, oh, you're mismanaging your resources. How can you mismanage so much wealth?
Okay, you're mismanaging but we've got a gun to your head and we're taking 80% of it. And do you know what they even do to the French? Do you know what they even do to the French colonies? This is why this woman, honestly, I even thought she actually blew a lid off. This is what the French will do. They will take 80% of their gross domestic product or whatever in cash. They will take 80%. Then they have to take it to the French central bank and put it there. Now, if they want access to any of that money, they have to now apply and they can only take up to 40% of that money and pay it back with interest.
Wow. And it's high interest as well.
So basically, you've taken my money, you've put it there. I can only apply for a certain amount of my money. And I am to pay it back with interest.
How does that work?
How does that fracking work? And you know what? It worked beautifully for them because nobody knew. Let's continue.
And nobody knew because they control the narrative.
They control the narrative. Carry on, sir.
So it's always we're the ones sending you aids.
Look at how clever They actually call it aid. We're helping you. Out of the generosity of our heart, we're helping you.
After all,
How good we are. After all, you're poor and weary. Oh, don't look at the fact that we've taken 80% of what you're producing. No. Don't look that. But we're helping you.
which is another thing that, one thing we've gotten used to with being behind enemy lines is the play on words. If you're a Black person coming to work in the UK or abroad in the Western world, you're called an immigrant. In fact, you're called a legal immigrant. If you're a white person working in Africa, you're an expat.
Expatriate. Doing exactly the same thing. So, and they become masters of words because that is where the war is now. The war is not now physical. The war is for the mind. Guess what? The last one that I'm going to quickly say this one because this was amazing. Her name is Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao.
Wow. No wonder you couldn't remember it.
I have to even read it now. Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. Yeah. One woman stood up in the audience and said, this woman said, Dr. Arikana, what have you got to say about the racism of Black on whites? The racism of Black on whites in Africa, taking their farms from them, taking their thinking. And the person now said, because in 18 blah, 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 these white people have been there, they've had generations on generation upon generation. So what have you, we talk about racism on Black people, but what do you have to say about racism from Black to white? I don't know if you've seen that video, Mr. Kunle.
I have, sir. I have.
You have? Have you?
Yes, sir.
I have. And I love how Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. I love how she took that person out. She said, okay, first and foremost, I like how we like to take the story from the middle and go, we say from here, we go for that. We never hardly go to the beginning. How did it all start? That it started by the colonialists coming and dividing the country into 4 parts. Save us all time and choosing the best part for themselves. And sending a word out to ex-military people that to come and claim land that Africans were already on.
Yeah.
Hectares of lush, amazing land, and displacing those people by force off their land.
And just like they did in America, where they would go as far as they could go for one day in a certain direction, put a flag there, then go in another direction to mark out your land.
Yeah.
They did the same thing in Africa.
They did the same thing in Africa. They did the same thing in South America. So it's almost like a franchise of terror.
Land grabbing terror.
Land grabbing terror that Europeans did. Now, we're not saying, like we keep saying on this channel, we're not talking about the right or wrongs of this thing. This is where we find ourselves. But we're equipping ourselves with information. Because going forward, that information informs our movement. That information informs our outlook. That information informs our understanding. Don't play, ladies and gentlemen, with information because it colors everything going forward. What do you think, Mr. Clay?
Yeah, it's very, very important because it's just like today, for example, somebody saying is you hardly hear a Chinese person calling their children Babatundi or Adebola,
Yeah.
or Oyenigan, but you hear Black people calling themselves Paul, James, Samuel. Where did that come from? Have you ever
Thank
asked
you.
yourself?
Thank you. Even I have called myself Philip. Philip did not come from, like they say, Philip did not come from Iran. But unfortunately, that is the Christian conquest.
Exactly. And is a form of slavery.
Completely. Under the name of Jesus.
We're going to this
name.
We are
I
going
am
to
conquering you.
This
And
video.
when you now actually go and look at the personality and the delivery of Jesus, he did not come to conquer you so that he will get your money, so that he will get your land, so that he will get your resources, so that he will control you. No, he came that you may have life and have it abundantly. He didn't come so that your pastor will have life and have it abundantly.
Well, it's just recently, maybe in the last 20 years or so, that you would say the local pastors were now getting the wealth for themselves.
Yeah. To be fair.
Remember before it used to make all this way, the money used to go all the way to Rome.
Rome, wow.
So the Catholics used to collect all the money in Africa.
Okay.
Just like you're saying, the resources of the countries were going to France.
Yeah.
Because Vatican is a nation within a nation.
So it was all going to Rome.
They still have their own stock exchange in Vatican, So why would you need a stock exchange? Have you ever asked yourself that? I work in investment, so I know they have a stock exchange. So just imagine all that millions of money rolling from Africa, all over the world, in fact, not just Africa, all over the world where the Christian cross was raised. The resources was shipped back to Rome.
I'm unbelievable. Unbelievable. And if you don't know that, you don't know. If you don't know that, you don't know. And whether you like it or not, it has a great impact on your life. Because 80% of your resources is already removed from the table. You are left with only 20%. And then they're now saying that you're corrupt. Then they're now saying that, oh, by the way, that 20%, they're not even leaving you because they're coming for contracts. They're coming for,
You're not left to do with it as you wish,
No. They've got their hands in that 20%, they've got their hand in it. In every level.
And which is what the leaders of Africa needs to come out and say. But they won't put anybody that will say that in leadership.
No, they were, of course, and not only in Africa, South America, like I said, is a franchise of terror. Let's call it what it is. It is terror. Because if you look at it, it's in South America, it's in Africa, it's in the Middle East, even some Middle East places, So the long and short of it is that, like you said, they will not allow a leader that is even talking like I'm talking. Oh, come on, they won't even get close to it. You just, and it's not funny enough, because of reading information, it is not even new and it's not even hidden anymore. All you need to do is type into Google or type into YouTube now, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And this guy will tell you, look, this is what we did in the 70s. This is what we did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This is what we did. We will go to a country that has a resource like Nigeria, and I'm thinking, I'm reading it, I'm going, whoa, I actually went through this. I went through the austerity time in Nigeria. I went through the structural adjustment program in Nigeria. But I just thought that things were just getting bad for Nigeria. But I did not know that the genesis of it was what this economic man was talking about. And what was he talking about? They will go to a country that they covet whatever they've got, be it oil, be it coal time, be it whatever. And then they will now say, okay, we will loan you money to develop an airport, to develop a pipeline, to develop a dam, something that the ordinary man on the streets will hardly benefit from. They will make sure it's that kind of big project, but they will make sure it's not healthcare. They will make sure it's not education. They will make sure it's not, no. It has to be something like, let's build a dam, let's build an airport, let's build and then they will now borrow the loan from the IMF. Now, will the loan come to the country? No, they already have companies from the West that they have earmarked to come and do the job for the loan. So they will say, okay, we're going to borrow Nigeria X amount of billions. But guess what? The billions is going to American companies. The billions is going to European companies that will come and do the work. So the people don't even see the money. The only people that will see the money are maybe a few politicians at the top that will get backhand.
Yeah.
That's it. Then someone like me, a young boy in Nigeria in the 80s, I was maybe 12, 11, you just see it on the news. Well, SAP. What is SAP? What is SAP? Find out later, it means structural adjustment program. Why are we structuring adjustment? Because we borrowed money from IMF and they want it paid back.
You need with interest.
Interest, and the whole country now has to go through it by, guess what? Devaluing the naira. The naira gets devalued. You see, this is how we see the effect of it, but we don't know where it comes from. If you want to know where it comes from, go and read. I got the book, The Economic Hitman.
Yeah.
John Perkins.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube as well. It's not even hidden.
No.
It's not even hidden anymore, because nowadays we're living in a time where it is hard to hide information. Very hard.
Thanks to the internet.
Thanks to the internet. So if you are a sensible human being nowadays, your greatest resource is not money. Your greatest resource is information. Mr. Kinley.
That's it. That is it, Mr. Phil. I think we can carry on talking about this. I think we're going to have other episodes about the same thing. Because, these will just whet your appetite. See why? Because when we're in the Western world, when blacks like me that grew up in paradise, literally, and I'm being hit by snow, I'm being hit by cold weather, I'm falling sick. I'm saying this is not my natural habitat. And I'm not myself. It's because of this land is not good for me. Well, it's not good for you either, to be honest. But as you find out, the land that is good for us has been made unbearable for us to stay. Hence why...
Not only, sorry, Mr. Clay, not only physically, but mentally as well. Because you go to your land and you find out that many people on your land have now been so mentally and psychologically traumatized.
Yes.
That they can't even be human beings in a lot of cases anymore.
Yes. And that is Even worse.
That's what I'm saying. So you can't even stay on that land that is a paradise, like you said, because the vibration of the psychological energy around you now is so toxic that you can't even say you want to go to that paradise and relax, because all this thing that we're talking about, the effect has traumatized the people that have to stay on the land. And when their trauma creates more trauma.
Yep. You can't expect them to, because the trauma is so deep. When you read in the newspaper, 30 people killed, 40 people killed, 50 people killed, you so, you don't even feel it anymore. You're desensitized to it because you're just like, just imagine in London or in Britain, somebody's telling you like 40 people were killed today, 30 people killed today.
Man, the whole place will be on, what should I call it? Martial alert and martial law. But in Africa, it's just, hey, another day. Just another day. Thank God he ain't me. And that is, to be honest, maybe I said that because that is why people stay in the West. It is not because they're having a great time in the West. It is not because the land is comfortable and they just want to stay in the West. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I can say, speak for me, the biggest reason why I stay in the, I'm looking for places in Africa because not everywhere in Africa is like that traumatized. There are places that are less traumatized, I'm not gonna mention it so that you guys don't rush there. I want to go there. Let me go there and have my peace.
There's a Mr. Bill.
So I'm not gonna mention the place. That will be my secret, But I would need to be on African soil. That's not even any joke. But the reason why we're still in the West is that no matter how hard things are, at least the psychological trauma is not as bad as it is in Africa. And what am I talking about, psychological trauma? We're talking about the effect of being behind enemy lines. They've made our land even enemy lines to us. And how? Like we're saying, through these systematic narratives, structures, agendas, put in place for years before we're even born. Even our so-called education. Have you noticed that our so-called education is not to develop anything for ourselves? If we're saying that we're educated, then of course we should be able to produce things for Africa now.
It will make sense, right?
It will make sense. If we say, I am educated, how many millions and millions of Africans will say they're educated? But okay, we are educated, but what is the result? So I submit that even our so-called education has been a weapon against us.
Most definitely.
Please, Mr. Clay.
Our so-called professors, our so-called teachers are not teaching. Even the students find out they know more than the teachers. So that ends why engineers cannot build bridges in Nigeria.
No.
They cannot bring solutions. Even universities cannot bring solutions to the society.
Look at that.
What the whole research and development institution is there for is to bring, like when we had COVID, everybody ran to the universities to come up with solutions. That's what they're there for. And you can't say in Africa, with all the problems that they have, there's no solutions coming out from universities. Even if one just say, you know what, we're going to solve this electricity problem. We're going to solve this problem of bad roads. We're going to solve the problem of traffics on the road. We're going to solve, which they're capable of doing if they want to go there. But the education system actually defeats them from even doing that. So back to you, Mr. Phil.
So you see that there are lots of forces that will arise. There are lots of forces that are in the shadows. But more than anything, though, the solution will always lie in our hands. That is why one of the things, we did a video not long ago where we say you don't need anyone's permission. All you need is you and the universe. Because look, the reason why things are the way they are is because a lot of people are benefiting from it.
Yeah.
Now, those people that are benefiting from it, you be a fool to think they're just going to give back their benefit with no fight. So the only option you have is build, let them have their benefit, and you find solutions for yourself anyway. Or you go and by force, and that's the only way. By force, go and get your benefits of them. Now, I don't see you as Africa being in a position to by force go and get anything from anybody right now.
Well, when you're talking by force, what is the biggest weapon in the world? Is nuclear, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Africa doesn't have a nuclear weapon.
We're not even close to it. We don't even have guns. Because if you're talking about think about it. If we're
not making our own guns, are we?
Thank you. So all they need to do is not supply us.
So
that's how pathetic it is.
So to tell you that even, when we talk about the education system, there's a reason why the world is the way it is. There's a reason why they stopped teaching history in African schools.
Wow. Well, thank God that you guys can go on the internet and learn about history, because history is one of the most profitable information you can have in your life. Mr. Kele, please.
Most definitely. We can have many series of this.
Of course.
This is something that you can tell we're living every day.
Definitely.
We're successful. Don't get me wrong. We're doing well. We're doing very, very well with behind enemy lines. It's not that we're struggling. We're doing really well. But when we're doing really well because we're conscious of where we are.
We're conscious of where we are. And ladies and gentlemen, it's interesting that Mr. Kele said that we're doing very well, because you see, after you've eaten, after you got shirt, you don't buy trousers, you don't buy shoe, you don't chop. I said eating. So what else is there to life? That's when it becomes increasingly important to get involved in equipping yourself with information that will make a difference, not only for you, but for others coming. So that even if all we do in our lifetime is document these things through videos, so that it will start people coming after us to start thinking and start doing other things that we don't do. That's all that matters. I'm trying to say that I'm getting to a point in my life where money, comfort, and things, as important as they are, they've been achieved relatively. They've been achieved. Oh, yes, I can get. As a matter of fact, you know what is funny? I was just thinking, no matter what shirts you buy and wear, sometimes it's not as good as those African tops that we make, Mr. Clay.
No.
The African with the patterns that they do, is the agbada. How? There's no suit in the world that can compete with an agbada.
Not in the African weather, that's for sure.
Even at a party, let's be frank. If you really want to deck up and show,
no, it's like I remember it was we're having a Christmas party at work, and everybody was wearing the tux.
Mm-hmm. Then you showed up. Hey!
Traditional.
Hey!
It blows them out of the water.
Everybody looking, fucking hell.
He must be a prince. Oh, and they're not wrong, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. You find out that you are actually a prince, and like Mr. said, yes, you're a prince. I could tell you guys a story. So again, we're getting to a point where we're appreciating that it's not only about us, it's not about our life. We've got our children, our children's children, but not only our children, your children, your children's children. Because if you look at it, our parents, they are prisoners of war as well, but they just were concerned about, oh, this is the system that the white man has brought. I can excel in it. That's all they saw. This is the white man's system. I can excel in it. I will go to their universities. I'll be a good student. I will pass all the exams to show that I'm a good student. What they didn't know was that really, in reality, is that I will pass all the exams so that I will show that I'm a good slave.
Wow.
I will jump through all their hoops so that I will show I'm a good slave. And one of the things that, again, we're not talking about right or wrong, good or bad, but one of the things that we suffer from as Africans is that we always compare ourselves with other Africans to feel good. So I'm an African, oh, I'm better off than the guy here, so I'm good. I'm better off than that other African, so I'm good. No. If you want to compare yourself with anybody, compare yourself with Elon Musk. Compare yourself with the top guys, Jeff Bezos of the world. If you want to compare yourself with country, compare yourself with Japan, compare yourself with, but we're so, oh yes, we're better than Gambia, we're better than Togo, we're better than oh, I'm earning I'm earning 50 grand. He's only earning 35. We are using the wrong measuring system. We're using the wrong yardsticks. We're using the wrong value system. If you want to compare yourself with the guys at the top countries. Your African neighbor, your African brother, your African friend is not your competition. The moment you think that they're your competition, you've already failed on the world stage, Mr. Clay.
That's right. I can't say anything else to that. That is right.
Well, let's round up and just say goodbye to these people.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have another episode because there's so much more to say about this. So for now, everybody, bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was our first take on Behind Enemy Lines. Like Mr. Clay say, we will definitely touch on this. But I hope you now know what we mean by saying Behind Enemy Lines. And I hope we've sparked some thoughts in you. Again, it's not important. The only thing it's not only important that you hear what we say. It is what we say make you think about. That is where the power is. Speak to you next time. God bless.
Bye-bye.